carotid salivary gland. Underneath the mandible, you can see a little bit of the submandibular salivary gland. Submandibular salivary gland. And if you turn the model to the other side, where you can see inside of the skull and underneath the tongue, you can see an example of a sublingual salivary gland. So you can see all three types of salivary glands on this part of the model. For the lecture test, you should know where the ducts from each of those glands transports the saliva, sort of where the saliva enters the oral cavity. Sagittal head model. Nothing new here, but some repeats. So from my finger to the pointer is the hard palate, composed of two different bones and their specific parts. So between my finger and the pointer now is the palatine process of the maxillobone. And now from my finger to the pointer is the horizontal plate of a palatine bone. The rest of this is the soft palate, and this inferior part that hangs down is called the uvula. So nothing new there, but a couple repeats. On the thorax model, I have the heart removed and the tops of the lungs removed. This is still the esophagus that you have to know running behind the heart. This is the diaphragm that we had before. And now you also need to know that the esophagus passes through the diaphragm. You can see part of the esophagus here. If I want the answer to be esophagus, the tag will be here and it will say name this structure. If I point to this part of the esophagus, the question card will say don't name the structure, name the opening that it just passed through. And that opening, which I'm attempting to outline here, is called the esophageal hiatus. Esophageal hiatus. The esophagus connects to the stomach. Similar to the picture in the lecture notes, you can still see a little bit of the esophagus here. This model is broken, half of it is fallen off. And we also see just a little bit of the duodenum here, but most of what you're seeing on this model, if I cover up those areas, is the stomach. The stomach has three regions, which I would tag from the outside. The upper rounded part is called the fundus. The middle region is called the body. And the last part is called the pylorus region. So I would refer to those as regions on the question card. I would also use this view for the two curvatures of the stomach. I would refer to them as surface features. So this surface feature of the stomach is called the greater curvature of the stomach. This surface feature of the stomach is called the lesser curvature of the stomach. I also want to caution you that I also would use the same tags to ask you about the greater omentum and the lesser omentum. If I tag here and ask you for the peritoneal extension that attaches to this area, that would be the greater omentum. If I ask you for the peritoneal extension that attaches in this area, that would be the lesser omentum. So the two curvatures and the two omentums have the same tag location, but different wording on the question card. Looking at the inside of the stomach, sometimes even without a tag, I will ask you to name the folds inside the organ. So the folds that you see inside are called rugae. I also open it up for the two sphincters that you have to know on this model. I would refer to both of them as circular rings of muscle. The circular ring of muscle in this area is called the lower esophageal sphincter. And the circular ring of muscle at the distal end of the stomach is called the pyloric sphincter.